Brian, let's close out the show with this last one today. The Fed. Our favorite people, the Fed. Favorite. Is this going to get us canceled? The Fed won't push the panic button and go for a jumbo rate cut, an economist says. I initially agree because I don't think that panic dropping the rate by 50 basis points would be helpful. That would actually, to me, that would suggest that they actually knew something worse is happening, and they still came out several weeks ago and were like, we feel it's time to finally easing our policy. That Okay, well, you said that kind of real soft if you're going to come out and drop a 50 basis point bomb drop on us. So that's my take. What do you think?
I'm sticking in line to what I've been saying these past couple of weeks. Elevator up, stairs down. It's gonna take time for us to get back down to where we would like to be. But then again, that's what we need to do in order to keep things, in line, controlled, because if we start cutting like crazy, that's going to send different signals, different, demeanors to the market. That could,
It's going to signal for sure. It's going to signal for sure they waited too long and they didn't do it quicker. They waited too long. They could have acted sooner. They knew something and didn't tell us.
And that doubt of what do you guys know that the markets don't? Oh, that in itself would cause so much panic that we'll see red for a couple of days.
Bro, I agree. I think that maybe part of the argument is, and this is I'm going to say it so that no one else has to say it. This is 100% speculative coming from Andy.
Ooh.
I think that the rewrite of the jobs of 880,000 is why people are kicking around the fact that we may have to do 50 basis points, and they're just not mentioning it. Well, I think that's a huge correction.
I did. Bro. I saw all of them were corrected.
880,000 jobs said to be created that were not. If there were any reason,
gone.
Well, remember when that came out, people on TV were like, "Oh, should the Fed do an emergency rate cut right now?" And other people were like, "No, they shouldn't, because then that means that this thing carries way more
comes
weight
with a tail
than what they've been saying for the last 2.5 years.
100%.
We need to restore price stability to the markets, and we need to ensure maximum employment." Well, they did ensure maximum employment, but then they actually had to correct that number, and oops, it wasn't maximum. There's a big black eye if you just come out with an emergency rate cut. That would have freaked the markets out more.
100%. I do agree.
I do not think that means they will do 50. I'm saying I think it's just why they're talking about 50 could be on the table. I ultimately think it's only going to be a quarter, because I think they're going to do this low and slow. Like you're saying, elevator up, stairs down. They're going to do 100%. Low and slow. They'll do a quarter in September. They'll probably do a quarter in November to end out the year.
That's literally what I had on my notes. Maybe another one.
Yes, and and again, we're going to be in that time frame where it's election time, and there's going to be a decision and all that, and
a lot of pressure too.
Unfortunately. Listen, I want to start a whole separate show where we talk about like banking, the Fed, and like politics. I don't want to do it here, but here's the reality. So cool. Everyone wants to pretend, or they want to claim that the Fed is independent and they're not persuaded by other people. That's a bunch of crap. They are. We know they are.
They're all in the same. They're all in bed together.
Right, but then I also understand why you would want them to have neutrality. Yeah, I would want that too. But there are certain things that you have to do on behalf of the benefit of the economy, and they are painful. There's 100%. Not like it's not Halloween where every door you knock on there's going to be candy and sweets. Some you're going to knock on a door in the economy, it's going to punch you in the mouth sometimes. That's what we're living in right now. That's what we see.
I can guarantee you they're having some difficult, very, very difficult conversations behind closed doors that only maybe a 10% of what we know is actually disclosed to us truly.
So, part of this is them just making their decision. The data and them being so data-driven and data-dependent is basically forcing them to have to do that, even if the timing right now is what they were hoping for. Coming out for a year and a half, 2 years saying you're going to be data-dependent, data-driven, data-dependent. Now you're seeing data that was unfavorable. Well, now you have to make a choice. You're kind of like beholden to the thing you said you should.
We said we were going to do this, but then now you got to do it. Well, no, it's just
so they I think doing nothing is definitely not a choice. So they have to do something. There's that issue. I think that there's going to be more about jobs. I think when we look back, first quarter of 2025. I think we're going to look at the end of 2024, and we're going to see how people are being counted as employed, but it's the same person holding multiple jobs. So we had said this before on the show, where, I'm gainfully employed at business A. I'm also gainfully employed at business B. There's two jobs in the economy, but it's still one person doing it. So when you measure it by jobs, some of that is distorted, even if it's only negligible. Statistically, it's still being distorted because these people that are holding 2 jobs or 3 jobs, they're still counted as 2 and 3, not one person here, one person there. So I think that
One
is going
person
to
with
come
3
back,
jobs,
and I think that they know that, and they already know that's kind of baked in the recipe of some of these numbers and this data. And because of that, again, silently and not being said, I think that's also what's going to drive some of these rate cuts is they can only allow so much softening of the jobs market, which is short for unemployment.
Yes.
Before they have to do something and let businesses start spend on employees again.
Oh, 100%. Or else we're going to break the economy more.
We can't afford that.
No, we can't.
We can't afford that. We can barely afford now.
Well, we can barely afford shit.
You know what? We're already at 40 minutes close on the show. We can't afford to do a 41st minute. We're going to be out of here.
Yeah, I know. So thank you guys.
More on the Fed. I wanted to keep that one short because really the talking points about the Fed are going to come up after they make their decision.
Yeah.
So let's just wait till then.
Everything's speculative up until.
I wanted to bring it up because this is going to make the rounds kind of right before the Fed decision comes out. And I would like to see what happens because of that, because I know that week's show we're going to be talking about a lot because
100%.
it will say a lot, even if they don't say a lot. The data will, and even sometimes the things they skip over mentioning is the things they should be mentioning.